I'm super excited of introducing Daine. He has been with us since 2023. He is a multi-market real estate investor operating from overseas. And I think I was sharing that it is a joy to see Daine working from Okinawa, showing all the deals that he's doing from overseas and getting it done. So you want to make sure to save his contact, guys. So again, he is recognized for his conservative approach and a strong deal fundamentals. And one of the most important skill in real estate, guys, is learning how to properly analyze a deal. And this is what he is going to teach us today. And my friend, this discipline is exactly what allow investors to build long-term wealth. So without further ado, I am going to stop sharing. I am going to turn it over to Daine.
Thanks,
So
Ari. Appreciate the
Daine,
intro. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody, wherever you're calling from. Like Ari mentioned, I'm Dane, active duty Air Force, currently in Okinawa, Japan. I'm going to start sharing my screen so you guys can see my slide. But while I'm pulling that up, I invest in various markets from over here. So I'm definitely going to show you that it is possible um, to do it from wherever you are. So don't let distance be an excuse why you don't invest. We're going to talk about how to analyze deals, and I do it from over here in Okinawa, and I have properties in the States. So I know there's a few people here that are looking to analyze deals overseas and in different places, but the process, the fundamentals are the same. So as we go through this, just kind of keep that in mind. The tools that you'll use is going to be a little bit different, obviously, because each market's got their own tools, each country, I should say. So for those looking to analyze in Japan or maybe even Guam, you might have to use different tools because the ones that I use might not have the address or the database available for your select market. But as far as the process of doing the analysis, it's going to be the same. Um, you'll just have to find those either tools or agents that can help you in your particular market to get the information that you need to put in the numbers. All right, so as we talk about the analyzing deals, I'm going to go through some slides first, and then after that, I'll pull up an actual spreadsheet and the some of the tools that I use so you guys can actually see it live on the screen. All right, so a little bit about me, Dane in Okinawa. Um, I do investments right now in Dallas, Texas, Birmingham, Alabama, but I also have properties in Spokane, Washington, and Honolulu, Hawaii. And I'm actually getting ready to PCS this summer to McCord Air Force Base, which is in Seattle, Washington. So I'll be buying a property there as well. The goal when I get there is to house hack. So I'll buy something. Hopefully, I can find a 4 unit, rent out the other three sections, and live in one side. So I'll be analyzing some deals for that, but I haven't quite figured out what location yet as far as in the Seattle area. So I'm going to hire a coach and mentor in that area to help me figure out the actual location, and then I'll start looking at properties. But anyway, so some myths that people think as it's kind of like a barrier for investing is that you really need to be present in the location that you're investing in. And that's not actually true. So Anne, she talked about in her last presentation, building your team. So here is some of the team members that are very important to investing, especially from afar. They can act as your local boots on ground. They can give you information on the market, whether it's the neighborhood. So as we're in the breakout session, I was talking to someone and they mentioned, they've seen properties on the market for a long time, but it's kind of difficult to know exactly why that property was sitting on the market for that long. It could be, it looks good on the screen, but then if you drive around the corner, it could be a bad neighborhood, and that could be one of the reasons why nobody wants to buy that property. So having somebody on the ground like a local real estate agent that is familiar with investment properties, or just like a project manager or something that can go and take a look, drive around the neighborhood, and tell you exactly what's around the corner and things like that. So that's what I do. I hire a project manager to kind of oversee things. They also take care of things on the ground, and they hire the general contractors for me. I have real estate agents that gives me comps and things like that. Property managers that tells actual rentals and rental laws and things like that in the market. And lenders, of course, that's how you get the money, whether it's private investors, so people like you and me that have money either available or in an old 401k or some kind of retirement account, or a bank, hard money lender, things like that. So again, go back, watch that video to kind of figure out what positions you need to fill on your team. And once you get your team built, those myths kind of become the reality as you see here, because with technology, especially now in 2026, it's very easy to find things online. There's video chats, as we're proving right now, we're calling from all over the world. So you can do the same thing as you invest. Just, get on a video chat. You can sit here on your computer while somebody's walking through a property for you, and you can see exactly what they're looking at. So a lot of the videos, or a lot of the properties on the market now, they also include like virtual tours. And actually, one of the ones that I'll show you in my live presentation, as far as the analysis, there is a video that's already part of the packet. So definitely ways to get around not being there in person yourself. And one thing people always think too is that remote investing is riskier. It's not necessarily riskier, it's just different, right? So as long as you got your processes and teams in place, you can overcome a lot of those challenges. So when you're choosing a property, it's important to know exactly what you're looking for, right? Because if you don't have those criteria kind of dialed in, then you're just gonna be looking all over the place for whatever and don't really know when to actually pursue a deal, when to actually spend time analyzing it. So that's why it's important to have a buy box. So for me, I have a specific buy box. For the most part, they're very similar in each market, but slightly different. So, like right now in Texas, I'm looking for mostly single family properties, um, with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, about $350,000 max for the after repair value. And it needs to be in a neighborhood with good schools and close to public transport. That's my Texas buy box. In Alabama, slightly different. I'm looking for a single family or small multi, 2 to 4 units, um, in either the south or north part of town, and with a ARV of around 250,000. And as you kind of figure out your market and what your investment strategies are, that's how you help to kind of make your buy box and dial in exactly what is going to work for your strategy in that market. So once you build your buy box, that'll help you filter out these deals, because then you'll see as you get information flowing in, you'll know exactly whether to pursue that one or not, right? And that's what kind of helps keep the emotion out of it. You definitely don't want to be emotional when you're buying properties, because that can get you in trouble. So if your buy box doesn't match, pass on it. Just let it go. Whether it looks nice or not, doesn't matter. It needs to fit your buy box. So it's very important to build your buy box first. Um, and so once you have that, dialed in, and you figure out what areas of the market you're looking at. So for me in Dallas, I have three different areas that I look at. So I look at Garland, Grand Prairie, and Fort Worth, also Arlington area. Um, and the reason for that is because those areas are um, right now at least, they have properties that are built, the areas surrounded, so they're not expanding as much as some of the other outer areas. So you kind of know what to expect as you're running comps and things like that. So comps is, comparing your property that you're looking at to others on the market that are either for sale or have sold recently. So then you'll have a better idea and can kind of dial in your strategy there. Versus some of the outer markets right now that's really expanding. They're building, a lot of development. There's a lot of new property coming on the market. So it's hard to kind of say my property is going to be worth, this much in 6 months or whatever, because there might be so many more properties available that the market gets diluted a little bit. For Alabama, similarly, but the dynamics there is a little bit different. The population is not growing as much as it is in Texas. Um, it's more so an affordable housing type of market, and the rent there, it's mostly Section 8, so you can get government subsidies and things like that. So you know that the uh, income is going to be there because the government's helping to pay for that. So that's kind of how I chose my markets. And then as I did that, I built my teams in those areas to help be my boots on ground and be my project managers and things like that. So once you get all that dialed in and you have your market and your buy box, now you want to start analyzing some properties. So the way I do it is I have wholesalers that they send me, properties all the time in my email. There's also Facebook groups. So you can go and join Facebook groups that are in your preferred market. So you just go on there and search, uh, you know, Dallas or even more specific, Garland properties or Birmingham properties and things like that. You can find all sorts of groups. There are also wholesalers in those groups that send you stuff. There's Facebook Marketplace, there's Zillow, Redfin, all those um, companies that present properties. Um, Driving for dollars, so you can have somebody drive around neighborhoods and look for properties that are, um, boarded up or the grass is overgrown, things like that, and give you the address, and you can look up the address. I'll show you how I do that later. Investment websites like Investor Lift, that's another one that I use pretty often. So once you get that, it's pretty easy to find deals. Then you just start your analysis. So you start pulling comps. You can either ask your agent in the area, you can go on Zillow, you can use tools like Backflips calculator, Bigger Pockets calculators. Um, all these tools are available for you to kind of see what's what those numbers look like. For ARV, for those that don't know what that means, after repair value, that is how much the property is going to be worth after it's fixed up. So that number is actually kind of what drives all of my decisions as far as if I'm going to pursue or what price I'm going to offer to buy that property at. Because the ARV is going to be either close to what you're going to be able to sell it for, or if you're gonna burr and keep the property long term, how much you'll be able to refinance that property for, so that you don't lose your money. Um, the next step is to estimate the rehab. So you're gonna usually what I do is I'll get contractors to give me bids. I'll say usually at a minimum three. Sometimes I go with two, but for the most part, I'll use three contractors just to see what they tell me needs to be fixed. So I'll have, they'll all go to the property, they'll look at it, and in their bid, they'll tell me, you know, this is what type of work needs to be done, and I'll compare all of their bids as far as what each of them are telling me, and then also what their price is for all that work. And for the most part, usually the two of them are usually close, and sometimes you'll get a outrageous one that's way out there. Um, it's not necessarily always good to go with the lowest bidder, but that's where you gotta kind of figure it out and compare what they're telling you, and then also ask your contacts in the area, hey, does this make sense? Is this what you're seeing as well? And then use that to kind of base your decision on which contractor you're going to go with. And then so once you get those bids and you got your ARV, you're going to run your numbers. So you're going to put those into a spreadsheet or a calculator, such as the backflip calculator, which I'll show you later, to make sure that the numbers themselves work out. And that will also tell you kind of what offer you're gonna put in on the property, what you're gonna offer to buy the property for. And then finally, step five is choose your exit strategy. So based on the numbers, figure out which one is going to be your best exit. So for me, I always have at a minimum two exit strategies. I try to have three if possible, but if I can make $25,000 at a minimum on a flip, then I usually go with the flip as my primary, and then usually a burr as a backup. So um, for the burr, um, I'm going to keep the property long term, so I'm going to refinance it. So I got to make sure that my numbers, I can at least get 75% um, of the price, so I can have the equity in there, right? So those are the things that I look at as I do my analysis. So once you kind of figure that out and get to that point of the step five there, you're gonna start using your tools, right? So um, like I said, your real estate investor is a great asset because they can give you exact comps. They can tell you all the little fine details that you might not be thinking about in those areas, what direction the market's projected to go in, things like that. So as you're getting your comps, you want to stay in the same neighborhood, usually up to a mile away if there's not that much in the specific neighborhood that you're looking at. I'd say don't go more than a mile. If you can't find properties, within a mile radius, then maybe try to look at a different neighborhood. Try to find properties that's sold within the last 3 months or so. Is a good ballpark. You can go 6 months, but right now in today's market in 2026, the market is going. There's a lot of markets where it's correcting, so it's going in the negative direction. So you don't want to get too far from today's date because the further back you go, the more skewed your numbers could be. So, for example, in the Dallas market right now, there is a very large correction going on right now. So you're seeing probably about 10%, sometimes a little bit more, um, price correction, and that's because of the last couple of years. the interest rate was down, so the prices in that area just kind of skyrocketed, which was kind of out of the ordinary for that area. So now it's actually getting back to where it should be. Um, so if you get too far away, so if you look 6 months ago in the Dallas market, if you're using that as your comp and you try to buy at that same price today, you're definitely going to get yourself in trouble. So as you do your analysis, just kind of think about what the market is doing, and that's where I was saying with your real estate investor or your real estate agent, excuse me, they can tell you that uh, type of detail. So as you're doing your comps though, as you're looking, either whether you're getting it from your agent or you're looking at it yourself, you're going to be looking at property with the same square footage or at least very similar. You don't want to get too far. I'd say no more than 20% off the comps. You're going to look for either whether it's renovated. So if you're buying a property that needs work, then you can look at properties that has not been renovated yet. But as you're thinking about your ARV, you want to look at properties that are renovated, see what kind of work was done to it and what that sold for, because that will give you a good idea of not only what you might sell yours for, but also what type of work you might need to put into that property. And then obviously you want to make sure it's the same property type, right? So if it's a single family house, you're going to look for single family comps. Don't try to comp a single family for a triplex or something like that. Like I mentioned, Zillow is a good place. Redfin, your agent can pull the actual MLS. Um, so the Backflip app that I use for doing my numbers, it has comps as well. Uh, I usually look at that and Zillow just to kind of get a baseline between both and usually go somewhere in the middle because Zillow seems to usually be somewhat low in most markets and Backflip seems to be somewhat high. So kind of finding that middle ground is usually helpful. You can also use PropStream. I use Propelio, but it's basically the same thing. It's a program that helps you find additional information. So it can pull the county tax records. It can pull the mortgage, so it can see how much equity is on that property, um, if the owner occupies the property, or if it's an investor-owned property that they don't live there. It'll give you that type of detail and kind of helps you narrow down what type of approach to take with putting in your offer. But one thing I always say is whenever you get this information, definitely verify that with your local agent because the numbers that you see on the computer, there might be things that um, locally that's known that you might not see or know just from looking at it online. All right, so once you kind of find a property that you want to put an offer in on, now you're going to start estimating the rehab costs. And that's where we talked about with getting bids from different contractors. But for me, well, I've seen some of them after the fact, but when I'm buying the properties, so for the most part, I don't see them before I buy them as far as in person. I have somebody go to the property. So the last three properties I bought, um, I bought it sight unseen with my own eyes physically there. I had somebody go through with a video. They walked through with their phones. I was on FaceTime, or some of them they just recorded it because of the time difference, but send me the video. But they walk through, they kind of explain what they're looking at and what type of work they think needs to be done. I'll also send an inspector out to go look at all the systems, the roof. HVAC, plumbing, things like that. And then I'll have a project manager that I hire. So I always do that for all my projects. I hire somebody that acts as the project manager. That's going to be a different person than the general contractor. The project manager is going to be the one that oversees the general contractor, and they're going to report to me. Usually, I'll try to give them an incentive, so I'll pay usually a certain percentage up front, but not the whole thing. And then that way, um, they have an incentive to see the work through because then they're not going to get paid the rest until the work is done. And then also too, to kind of add to that incentive is if they're able to get the work done quicker, um, they'll get a bonus. If the work is being delayed for a while, I'll give them a 30-day grace period. But then after that 30 days, then I'll start taking away from their percentage. So it kind of helps to keep the project in a timeline. Obviously, there's times where things are kind of out of control. So it's not necessarily in the project manager's control for these events. So in those cases, obviously, I won't penalize them. But um, as long as you kind of have some sort of boundaries, then that's usually a good way to go about it. As I mentioned earlier, get multiple bids from the contractors. All right, so once you get all those numbers, you're gonna um, start plugging in your numbers into your spreadsheet or into an app like Backflip, which kind of helps you take the emotions out of it, right? Because now you're actually seeing the real numbers. These are what actually is gonna help you determine what to offer on the property and make sure that you're either your money's safe or your investors, if you get an investor's money, um, you're not gonna end up losing it. So when you're putting in these numbers into your spreadsheet, the basic numbers that you're looking for is the purchase price, the estimated rehab costs, your after repair value, estimated rents on the market, and the big thing that people forget often is the holding costs. So during that project, you're going to be paying bills. If you're using a hard money loan, you're going to be paying the interest payments every month. You're going to be paying for utilities, taxes, insurance, all that stuff, right? So you got to think about that. And as the work progresses, as the contractors are using heavy tools and things like that, um, your power and your water bill could fluctuate quite a bit. So you definitely want to calculate for the highest potential usage. And typically, the utility companies can kind of give you an idea how much that might cost, so you can estimate. And then also you want to consider for like hard money, the points and other fees that might go along with that. So make sure you factor those numbers in because, like I said, the holding cost is what a lot of people forget, and they don't factor those numbers in, and they buy a property for too much and kind of lose out on their profits there. Um, One golden rule is if the numbers, so don't make the numbers work, right? Don't try to force the numbers. If you put in the numbers and your spreadsheet or your app says this is not a good deal, move on unless you can negotiate with the seller to bring the price down to a number that actually works. But if you're if the seller is set on a certain price and you're trying to fudge the other numbers to make it work for you, then definitely don't do that. Especially if you're going to be hiring contractors. Now, if you're doing all the work yourself, then that might be a different story because you have a little bit more control on materials and labor costs and things like that. So as I mentioned, these are some of the tools that I use. So Backflip, the app, I'll give you a quick demonstration here shortly. Bigger Pockets calculators. There's all kinds of free calculators online. I personally use Bigger Pockets just because uh, they're a really good investor company and their tools are pretty solid. And I have their pro membership. So obviously I'm paying for the pro, so definitely want to use all their tools that they offer. Rentometer kind of gives you rental comps in the area. Bigger Pockets has a similar calculator, but I usually use both just to compare with one another. And then Zillow, like I mentioned before. And like I talked about earlier, having multiple exit strategies, right? So whether it's going to be a fix and flip, BRRRR, long term, midterm, co-living. Co-living is I wouldn't say it's a new model, but it's gotten popular now. Um, whether it's um, I can't think of the company now, but anyway, there's a company out there that is very good about kind of market analysis and getting tenants into your properties for you, but they do charge quite a bit. If you can think of the name, you can throw it in the chat, but I drawing a blank right now as far as that goes. But anyway, so as you're kind of thinking about your strategy, and you pick your primary exit strategy that works best for you, um, have another one or two in your back pocket just in case things don't work out. So, for example, my current property right now that's in Fort Worth on the edge of Arlington, Texas. Like I said, the market correction is pretty strong right now. So my primary exit on that one was a flip, but the selling it is not working out for that particular uh, strategy. It's still I could still make a profit, but not as much as I want. So now I'm gonna keep it and rent it out. So now I'm working on refinancing that property and getting a renter in there. So like I said, always have backup plans just in case. All right. So what you're looking at here is Investor Lift. So this is a website that you can find deals on. So in addition to deal flow that I get from wholesalers, I also come and look at this website here sometimes. And this website, they're all over the country. So this is where investors, wholesalers, all kinds of people put properties for sale. So a lot of these properties you might not find on the regular MLS. So your real estate agent might not see these properties at all, unless they're investor friendly themselves and they come on here. To kind of save on time, I narrowed down two properties in my buy box area in Texas. So this particular one that you're looking at here is in Rockwall. It's near Garland. So it is property that needs a lot of work. As you can see, there's a price there, 150. There's an ARV of 375. For me, I kind of don't take those numbers at face value because sometimes whoever posts it, they just put numbers that they think sounds good. So as you can see from the picture, it's definitely going to need a lot of work. So this is probably going to be a full gut, where you're going to have to completely take everything down to the studs and rebuild. So for something like this, I probably wouldn't pay $150,000, because it's probably going to take about another 150 in that area to get it to fully renovated. Uh, Probably foundation issues as well. You can see the cracks. Um, Roof definitely needs a new roof. Fence, This is basically a complete rebuild from the studs. I won't go through all the pictures, but as you can see, there's lots of pictures. And this particular one also has a video walkthrough. So that's what I was talking about earlier, where you can kind of get a good idea of what these properties look like. So on Investor Lift, once you come on here, you make an account, you'll see they won't give you the full address to a property. You have to click a button and agree to certain terms. And usually when you agree to those terms, the wholesalers or whoever will start contacting you. They're like, hey, I saw you're interested in this property. So be prepared for that if you're actually clicking to see the address. But I always do that anyway. And I look at the information that they present in here and I compare that to Zillow. So I'll pull this up on Zillow just to make sure all this matches. Because sometimes there might be work done that's not necessarily registered with the city. Could be permitted work or unpermitted work. So for this house, it looks like it's the way it was built, but I find places that says on here that it's 3 bedroom, 3 bathroom, but then when you pull it up on Zillow, it's actually a 2 bedroom, 2.5 bath, or something like that, where a bedroom might have been added at some point. That's not necessarily registered with the county or city. So you want to read through all this just to make sure that the property you're looking at, you kind of have as much detail as you can before you send your team out there. Uh, Sometimes they'll tell you that you're not allowed to look at the property. So then you'll have to reach out to the wholesaler or the seller to get more information. I definitely don't recommend if they tell you you can't look at the property at all. Um, I usually just kind of skip that one because I always want to send a uh, at least somebody from my team to go look at it at a minimum, just to make sure that what they're showing is or what they're saying is actually what's out there. So here it is on Zillow. So I pulled it up earlier just to save on time, just to kind of compare uh, what they're saying with what Zillow is saying as well. Zillow doesn't show the bed and bath, but sometimes that happens. But you can confirm that with the city. Um, Zillow's estimate is 315. They were saying 375 on their estimate. Zillow's range is between 274 and 356. So lower than what they're showing, but Zillow tends to do that sometimes. Another tool that I use is the Backflip app. It allows you to analyze different addresses. So you can go in here, plug in the address, have it pulled up, analyze it earlier. So here's the address that it was. So the way this app works is it also gives you comps. So this one, like I said, Backflip sometimes is a little bit higher than Zillow. This one is showing estimated 482, but like I said, that market is correcting. So I would definitely go a little bit lower on this one. But what Backflip does is it looks at automatically pulls up properties in that area and it automatically picks them for you. So these were sold um, within the last 6, 7 months. So not too bad. Same neighborhood, so zero point 0.2 miles. Actually, this one's just right around the corner. Same street. Um, zero point 0.3 miles. So definitely in the same neighborhood. Sold not too long ago. Uh, these are 3 bedrooms, so those are good comps. Square footage, similar. Um, but you can also change which property is used for the comps as well. So you can manually change these numbers. But this automatically picked it and it kind of shows you a map of the area. So what I do here is I'll put in the numbers. So 375 is what they were showing as their numbers. Purchase price of 150. Estimated rehab. I think that property is probably gonna need about 150 for that area. And then you're gonna want to factor in your holding costs. So as you scroll down, what this leverage is um, so 75% is so when you uh, take out a loan, usually you can get most companies they'll give you 75% of the value. So that's what that's referring to. And then the interest rate. So if you're going to be using hard money, it's going to be pretty high up there. Um, so anywhere from 12%, 12, you might be able to find some in the 10% range right now. Um, if you have a private lender, so someone like you and me that have money that they want to invest, typically 10%, 8 to 10% is private lender range. And then uh, as you plug in down here further, this little get a loan thing is in the way, but you can calculate how much additional cost it's going to be, how long the whole period might be. And as you plug in those numbers, it'll affect up here. So it'll tell you whether it's a good deal or not. And then you can select whether it's going to be a fix and flip or a long-term hold. So when you change it to long-term hold up here, the you got to put in the rents in that area. So that's when you'd go on to Rentometer or Bigger Pockets rental calculator and kind of see what the comps are in that area. So for a 3 bedroom in that particular area as a normal long-term rental, 2,500 is a good estimate. And then as your other costs are factored in down here. Um, so you could see that particular market, this would not be good for long term. Is if you're trying to get a positive cash flow. Um, but if you want to flip it, 18,000 is an estimated amount. So like for me, I don't do anything that's less than 20, typically 25,000, but 20,000 minimum. Um, so if I can't get that, then I usually don't pursue. So this price right here, I wouldn't pay 150. So I would try to negotiate down to a lower price. Um, and uh, depending on what you can negotiate, then that's when you want to figure out again, recalculate your numbers, whatever price that is. So let's say we get down to 100,000, then that might be a much better deal. So let's put 100,000 in here and see what that changed to. Oh, oh, if I can get it for 10,000, that'd be great. Um, so potentially, right? So if I can negotiate down to 100,000 for the purchase price, then now we're looking at a much better profit. And then similarly for the rents, higher cash flow each month. So in that case, if I could get that property for about 100,000, pending the amount of the rehab costs, that could be a good deal. Right. So really, that's it as far as analysis goes. So getting your team together, making sure that you have trusted people on the ground that you can um, have validate information that you're seeing, and um, validate the information that you're seeing, and kind of help you uh, find the right contractors and things like that. All right, that's the end of my presentation. Hopefully, that was helpful. If you guys have questions, if you haven't already put them in the chat, feel free to ask.
Friends, take a picture of this. You do want to stay connected with Daine. So I'm just gonna do 1, 2, 3, take your picture and make sure you're able to reach out to him. He will stay with us a little bit after to go over the questions that we have on the chat. So, what do we have in store for 2026, guys? We do these sessions every other month, and coming up next, I would have Anne expanding on what we have on our masterclass collective. But I'm gonna go quickly of if you see at all of our layout, it completely bring that circle around, right? We have on how to find a real estate deal, how to analyze it. Coming up on May, we have how to finance a real estate deal and then how to protect an asset. We're going to have an amazing guest speakers. And then we're going to close out the year on how to integrate AI in your side hustle, right? How we bring all of that together. So stay tuned. Make sure you're following us.
So for those of you joining us, if this is not your first time, you may have heard that we were doing a Asia Pacific Real Estate Investing Summit. But I'm here to share that we have been impacted by some of the world events that we have going on, where the conditions are where people are not really comfortable traveling. And so we wanted to be mindful, where we went back to a lot of the speakers and some of our attendees and trying to get a pulse on where everybody's at. And so that said, I think what we decided to do is two things. We decided to, one, pivot, and then two, postpone. So the summit, as we originally had presented and shared with everybody, we are going to postpone that full-scale program to 2027. We already have dates lined up. We already have the venue confirmed. So we are doing that. What we are doing differently in terms of the pivot, because we did actually confirm a lot of the speakers who already committed to coming, we are then going to pivot that into a one-day program, exclusive by invitation only, because at the end of the day, what were we trying to achieve was to be able to give value to anyone who wants to attend for the master classes. And so when you look to the left on the screen that you see, these are all the masterclass speakers that we still have teed up and will be coming here in person to Guam. To the right, you'll see that we have the program on the specific topics that they're talking about. And so we're just going to do it roundtable style. And instead of, and we're calling it the Masterclass Collective. And so for in this call, this will be at the Hyatt Regency. Again, we're transitioning it to from the original summit of scale to now a one-day exclusive by invitation only event. And so for those of you who have an interest on this, please reach out to me. Disabled the registrations online, but there's a way, but because we're going exclusive by invitation only, you need to be able to know somebody who's part of the team to gain access. So for those of you who have an interest, definitely feel free to reach out to me directly or to anybody else who you see their virtual background of this network.
We want you to stay connected, team, right? You see how much value, how much, you were able to connect with other people in different journeys, stages of their journey. So we have our Facebook group. Join our Facebook group, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Those are the platforms we use to
share information on our upcoming meetups, recording for past events, and all the resources we have for our new investors. So make sure you follow us, you connect with us on Facebook. We are always chatting and talking about things that we have going on there. So let's stay connected. And with this, I also wanted to say that these events are made possible by an amazing team of volunteers who are passionate about building community through real estate education and networking. So if you enjoyed today's event and you would like to help us grow this community, we're looking for hosts in several locations. As you see, we have Japan, Misawa, Kemsama, Sasebo, and we have in Korea, Kunsan, Cam Walker, and Kim Carroll. So hosting is super simple, guys. I'm one of the hosts here in Jakarta. It can be as easily as organizing a casual meetup, coffee chat, and connect with investors in your area. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to scan that QR code. It's going to send you an email, and then we'll get connected in that way. And I think one of the things that I love about being a host is just building that connection, right? It's growing your network and ultimately create opportunities within your community and supporting other people's journeys as well. So with that, I am going to close our formal portion. Again, as we wrap up the event, I want to say thank you. Thank you to our incredible guest speaker. Thank you, Daine. I know this was a hard time, when we ask you, and I was like, really? We're in the middle of an exercise, but you step up and say yes. So thank you for bringing so much value to our community. To our volunteer team working behind the scene, thank you. This would not be possible without all of you in it. So, and to the rest of our community, thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your Saturday or Friday evening, right, to joining us today. And I want to say your commitment to learning and connecting is what made this community powerful. So